Hi, I'm Laura Pazzalia of Hip Cooking. Today we're going to get acquainted with the pressure cooker. We're going to learn about all the pressure cooker parts and what they do, the safety systems, and we're also going to put it through a test run to see how it works. Welcome to Pressure Cooking School. The pressure cooker has three major parts: the lid, where the valves and most of the safety systems reside, the base, where there's the logic and the heating, and the inner pot, where the cooking happens. Now, the inner pot can either be stainless steel, it could be an aluminum shell coated in nonstick coating, or, as in this model, it can be an aluminum shell coated in ceramic. So let's talk about the base and work our way back up. The base of the pressure cooker has the heating element, which is a ceramic disc. And in the middle of the disc is a little heat sensor. This one has it too. And the heat sensor is there to keep track of the cooking temperature of the pressure cooker, and it's also a safety system. If the pressure cooker detects that the temperature inside the cooker is too high, it will automatically shut off. It's also important to point out that different pressure cooker brands might have similarly named programs. For example, this brand has a steam function and also this brand has a steam function, but it doesn't mean that they're going to act the same way. In fact, this particular brand does steaming at high pressure, and this particular program does steaming without pressure. So if you're following a recipe that talks about specific buttons, you have to be aware of what's behind those programming buttons. The removable cooking bowl is where you come in on pressure cooker safety. Your manual will state, and some bowls will also state, the maximum fill levels. This one in particular has the max level for non-pressure programs, but pressure programs have a lower fill level. Let me explain. This removable bowl says max 2/3 and max half. And those are the maximum fill levels for pressure programs. Since most of the safety systems in the pressure cooker are on the lid, the most important thing is not to overfill the pressure cooker and to ensure that the food inside doesn't bubble and clog the valves on top. So the way the industry has resolved this is to impose maximum fill levels. So for foods that foam, like rice, grains, and beans, the pressure cooker should not be filled more than halfway with that food and cooking liquid, because that food will bubble and make foam, and the foam will rise inside the pot, and it could touch the valves. So we don't want that. That's why we stay at half full. For anything else, soups, stews, broth, stock, anything else, you can fill the pressure cooker up to 2/3 full. Again, you don't want to go over this because even a soup or a sauce, it could bubble and clog the valves, and we don't want that. So read your manual carefully, find out what the fill levels are. If they're not already written for you, then you need to do a little calculations, or you need to kind of eyeball it, and just make sure not to go over half full for foods that foam and over 2/3 full for anything else. So let's take a look at the lid now. Here is the pressure valve. This particular model has a floated weight valve. It actually keeps the pressure in the cooker by having a weight push the steam in. While this particular model actually has a spring valve. There is an actual spring that keeps the steam from exiting the pressure cooker. Every time before and after you pressure cook, you want to make sure that the valve and the pipe where the steam comes from are completely free of food residue. The lid also has a locking mechanism, and this ensures that the minute the pressure starts to build inside the cooker, the lid locks closed. It's a mechanical system, so it means that it will even work if the pressure cooker is unplugged. If there's no electricity or even if the power goes out, the lid will remain locked because it's a mechanical system. The pressure inside pushes up a pin which locks the lid, so there's no way to get that lid off while pressure is still inside the cooker. So let's take a look at the lid. This is the underside of the pressure valve, and this is the underside of the locking mechanism. This pressure valve has an extra little basket to ensure that the food doesn't get in there. It still needs to be removed occasionally and cleaned to ensure that it's completely free. You'll also notice that there's a silicone ring. This is the gasket. And in different pressure cookers, it'll be placed in different ways, and I'll explain that in a minute. But the gasket is also part of the safety system. It actually expands while the cooker's at pressure, and if for some reason the primary safety valve and the lid lock, which also serves as a safety valve, were to become clogged, this gasket will expand and release pressure. So let's see what it looks like here. This particular pressure cooker lid has a false sealing. Again, this is to prevent food from reaching the valves. So we remove this false sealing, and we see actually the gasket is around this little false sealing. It works the same way. It expands at pressure, and if any of the other safety systems were to be compromised, this will release pressure. This particular model here is the underside of the pressure valve. Here is the lid locking system, and they have an extra safety valve. So this particular brand has 2 safety valves in the lid, plus a false sealing. And that's it. Those are all the safety systems, and generally what happens in an emergency, even before it gets to that point, the pressure cooker itself will detect if the temperature is too high and turn off the pressure cooker. While that's happening, food inside is still boiling and building pressure, so it will release excess pressure from the valve, and if the main valve were to be clogged, it will release pressure from the secondary or the lid lock valve. And if that were to be locked, it will release pressure from the gasket. Okay, so to review, you're the first pressure cooker safety systems. Never overfill the pressure cooker. Remember, no more than half full for rice, grains, and beans, and their cooking liquid, and no more than 2/3 full for anything else. That makes sure that the food does not interfere with the lid, which is where all the other safety systems are. Basically, the valve releases the pressure, any excess pressure, the primary valve. But if it were to get clogged by accident, other excess pressure can be released by the lid lock or secondary or third valve. This one has 2 backup valves. And if that were to fail, the gasket inside the pressure cooker actually expands to release any extra pressure. And while all this is happening, and hopefully it's not, the base turns itself off. It notices that the pressure is too high, and it turns off the pressure cooker, stops heating it up, which means it will stop building pressure. And the last safety system is for absent-minded cooks like me. Like, oh, I need to add some carrots. And you try and open the pressure cooker. Well, the lid locks automatically the minute pressure starts to build. What does that mean? It means you cannot open the lid. It's a mechanical system, and even if there's no electricity, you cannot open the lid while pressure is still inside. So let's try it out. Okay, let's try it. We're going to do a hot water test. Basically, we're pressure cooking water. It's a great way to see how a pressure cooker reaches pressure, maintains pressure, and releases pressure. I like to do a hot water test with 4 cups of water or 1 liter of water. And I use a specific measured amount of water so I can see after the test how much actually evaporated during pressure cooking. This little bit of knowledge will be useful for you later when you're converting your own recipes to the pressure cooker. You'll need to adjust the liquid level. But for now, let's just see how it works. Okay, this isn't very complicated. We just put the water in the pressure cooker. We put on the lid. And on the lid, there will be a valve that you'll have to close. So for this model, I have to set the valve to sealing. But with this brand, I have to set the valve to pressure. So the setting for the valve will differ on the brand of pressure cooker you have. So read your manual to find out how to seal the pressure cooker to prepare it for pressure cooking. And now basically we're going to tell it to pressure cook for 5 minutes. Now again, each brand does this a little bit differently. This particular model, I push manual, and then I set the time I want it to pressure cook. So I want it to pressure cook 5 minutes. I just do the minus till I get to 5. And then that's it. This one will engage on its own. This brand does it a little differently. And this one I have to push pressure cook and then add the minutes and then press start. However your pressure cooker pressure cooks, just follow those directions. Initially it will seem like nothing's happening, and that's okay. That's because the heating element has turned on and it's bringing the water inside to a boil. And how long does that take? However long it usually takes you to boil water, about 10 minutes. That's because at this point the pressure cooker is just a pot with the lid on. Once the water comes to boil, that's where the magic starts to happen. Some of the steam will be pushed out of the valve and increasing a velocity until you hear a click. And that click is actually the lid lock coming up and locking the lid closed. It means that the pressure cooker has reached pressure. But pressure cooking isn't happening yet. What is happening is that the steam will no longer exit the valve. And having nowhere to go, the steam keeps building and building and building, and the steam is starting to push inside the pressure cooker. That is the pressure of pressure cooking. When it gets to the strength of the desired program, high or low pressure, let's say high, 11 psi, when it reaches that pressure, which takes about 2 to 3 minutes from the time the lid locks, usually less, then the pressure cooking can begin. You'll see the timer count down on the pressure cooker, and that is the pressure cooking time. So pressure cooking's done, and now you open the lid, right? No, you can't. The cooker has reached pressure. Now you need to release the pressure from the pressure cooker before you remove the lid. And you can do it like this. So while the steam is releasing, you don't want to put your face or hands into the steam, okay? Then after the steam release, you'll hear another click. That's the lid unlocking. Now you can open the lid, but there's still a lot of steam in there. So what you want to do is twist the lid and then you tilt it away from you. I know that initially you're going to want to peek inside and see how your recipe's doing. You're going to want to put your face down there. Don't do it, okay? Step back, open the lid, and tilt it away from you. There's a lot of condensation on the lid, So you want to dribble that back into the pressure cooker. You don't want that to dribble onto your feet or anyone nearby. And now you've got this hot insert. Don't grab it with your hands. If you can, grab silicone pinch mitts and use those. You could slide them right underneath the lip of the cooker and lift it. Or if you don't have these handy things, you can just use a kitchen towel. Grab the edges, be careful because it's slippery, and lift it out of the base. Now I'm just going to put this back in my measuring cup to see what the evaporation was. Well, we started with 4 cups and we finished with just less than 4 cups, just a little bit less. And why is that? Because a pressure cooker evaporates about 1 tablespoon of water every 10 minutes versus a cup for an open boiling pan. So there's a lot less evaporation going on. That's it. Now you're ready to pressure cook.